What do we have today? Today's C episode is Hiccups. Okay, this should be a lot of fun. I'm not quite sure why, but for some reason, when I was a little kid, this was one of my favorite episodes. Maybe you'll remember why as we watch this again. Let's see. Oh, who was the writer for The Igloo? I forgot to look at that. Let's see. The Igloo was written by Matthew Westwood. Okay, it's the first time we've reviewed any episodes written by him, and it was a pretty good one. And Hiccups was written by Dave Ingham. Now, which of the store-bought videos came with the Igloo? Or no, I'm sorry, Hiccups. Which video was Hiccups on? We know the Igloo was the Let It Snow collection, but Hiccups was on the Friendship Tales collection. It's released in 2004. Okay, so let's dive into this. First thing we see is Kipper in his paddling pool. And this is not the same paddling pool that they use in Water Everywhere. This is actually his original one. He's just laying there in his pool with his yellow sunglasses on, and he's got a drink with a little crazy straw. He's just humming to himself, and then he takes a little drink, and all of a sudden, he hiccups, and then water from the pool splashes out, and he hiccups again, almost knocking his sunglasses off. And he hiccups the third time, and everything falls off. He drops his cup, his sunglasses fall off, and the straw goes flying, and water splashes everywhere every time he hiccups. It kind of jumps him. He says, "Oh, no, I've got the hiccups." Not to be confused with the cup that he just dropped. He's talking about the hiccups that just started, and he can't get him to stop. I think maybe one of the reasons why I liked this one was because I enjoyed anything that had like a certain kind of word or a certain sound repeated multiple times. Because I mentioned before that Dora the Explorer episode, Hick Boom Oh, that one kind of got my attention too when I first saw that one. So I don't know if it was because of the just hearing the hiccups over and over again throughout the episode kind of intrigued me somehow. I don't know. So anyway, Kipper gets out of the pool, and he's coming inside, and the telephone's ringing, and we see the phone at kind of a strange angle. Like, we see the phone from a side view instead of the front. And so the thing on top that kind of wiggles around as the phone rings. When I was 3, I didn't think that it looks very much like a phone. Just looks like a red bell on top of this red box. I mean, it kind of sounded like a telephone, but I was used to seeing it from the front view. Thought it looked really weird from this side. It's always kind of funny how the phone wiggles around whenever it rings. Wonder how many cartoons actually did that. Pig's phone kind of did that a little bit too in the Costume Party episode. Even though that phone was on the wall, it was a more modern one. Kipper's phone's a little bit more traditional, like a 80s style. Like, it's got push buttons, it's not a rotary phone, but it has like the real ringing bells inside. And as Kipper walks to the phone, he's still dripping wet. And as he picks up the phone and answers it, he squeezes some water out of his ears, so I guess he didn't bother drying himself. He just got out of the pool and went inside to try to do something about his hiccups. He picks up the phone, and right away he says, "Oh, hello, Pig." So I wonder if Pig said something the moment he heard Kipper pick up the phone, because Kipper didn't say hello first. He just says, "Oh, hello, Pig." And then we see Pig and Arnold, and yes, that's the same phone that Pig had in the Costume Party episode. It's hanging on the wall like that, and it's yellow. And Pig asks Kipper if he wants to come to the park, because Arnold wants to feed the ducks. Yeah, see? Because that's what Arnold's always talking about. Duck! We don't hear him say it in this episode, though. But we do see Arnold holding a loaf of bread. Looks like some kind of French bread, baguette or something. And Arnold's eating a little bit of it. Takes a little piece off and eats it. So they want to go to the park and feed the ducks. And Kipper says, "I would love to, Pig, but I got the hiccups at the moment. I'll come along when I've gotten rid of them." And then Pig says, "Put a finger in each ear and stand on one leg. It always works for me. Doesn't it, Arnold?" And then Arnold, still holding the loaf of bread, puts his other finger into one of his ears and stands on one leg. When I was little, I didn't have a clue what Pig was saying. For a while, I thought it was something about a figure 8 chair. But no, he said, put a finger in each ear and stand on one leg. Yeah, that was kind of funny. Like, did he say a chair, a cheer? No, each ear. And then Kipper thanks him, still hiccuping, and says, maybe I'll see you later. He hangs up the phone, and then he tries to do what Pig said. He tries to stand on one leg and put his fingers into his ears, but he doesn't even get his fingers all the way up there before he says, no, that's silly. Then when he puts his foot down, it splashes into a little puddle on the floor because he'd been dripping wet from the pool, so he doesn't think Pig's idea is going to work. And he walks along and thinks to himself, perhaps if I hold my breath and count to 100. When I was 3, I thought Kipper said, perhaps if I hold my bread. I thought he said bread instead of breath, which kind of made sense because we just saw Arnold holding a loaf of bread. But nope, he's going to try to hold his breath and count to 100. So he holds his nose and starts counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then he can't hold it anymore. He collapses to the floor, letting out all his air. The big blue cloud coming out of his mouth. I mean, it looks kind of blue against the white background, but it's just to represent all the air he was holding in. He hyperventilates a little bit to try to regain his breath. He sits up again and he thinks he's gotten rid of his hiccups, but no, they're back. Well, maybe not back, but still there. Okay, then we fade to black. Next scene, and Kipper's looking in what I assume is some kind of medical book, like do-it-yourself home remedies or something. And he's going through the alphabetical sections, reading all the listings, trying to find something about hiccups. Ears. Droopy ears. Sticking out ears. Ear ache. Fever. Flu. Fat paws. Face ache. Every time he said ache, I thought he was saying Jake, because he's about to see Jake in a minute here. Because ache is the second syllable of Jake. Like, it's Jake without the J. At the age of 3, I didn't know what an ache was. In fact, I didn't know what most of these things were that Kipper was saying. And inside the book are some kind of weird-looking pictures. Like, they're just random dots and swirls. Like, I don't know if they're supposed to represent intestines or germs or what. I assume that part right there is supposed to represent ears. He turns to the next page and we see these blotches and some swirly thing. Turns the page again. And maybe it's a great big eye that's supposed to be. Like all these shapes, there's some kind of pinkish orange thing against a green square. He keeps reading. Where is it? Google eyes? Giddiness? Headaches? Whooping cough? It's kind of strange that whooping cough would be with H. Wouldn't that be W? Like, is it spelled differently in the UK? I don't know. When I was little, I thought he said drooping cough, but that's not right. It's gotta be whooping cough, but it's one of those words that sounds like it could start with an H, but it's definitely a W. So I don't know how that got in there. And then he finally finds the section for hiccups. And we don't see any of the words in this book. We don't even see anything on the front cover, because he picks it up then. We see the cover. It's just a kind of a red stripe with a few more lines underneath. And the book says, to cure hiccups, place yourself in an upside-down position and sing a song. And Kipper thinks it sounds like kind of a weird idea, but maybe not quite as weird as Pig's idea about putting a finger in each ear and standing on one leg, so he's going to give this a try. We dissolve to the next scene, and we see Kipper upside down. His feet are sticking up. We hear Kipper saying, I don't want to have the hiccups. Hiccups, you must go. I don't want to have the... And as he sings, the picture kind of slowly pans down to his upside-down face and the hands that he's standing on. He stops singing, and it appears that his hiccups are no more, or so he thinks. Next scene, Kipper's heading back outside again to the old paddling pool. He brings out his drink, and he's wearing his sunglasses, and he's got a towel this time. He lays the towel on the edge of the pool. And see, yeah, here comes Jake. Not to be confused with Ache. Jake says, hello, Kipper. It's a lovely day, isn't it? Kipper says, yes, Jake, it's a lovely day. A lovely, lovely day. I don't think I've ever seen such a lovely... And then he starts hiccuping again. So, what is this implying? Did his hiccups come back because he was happily saying something over and over again. It's a lovely day, it's a lovely, lovely day, I haven't seen such a lovely... Like, is that a hiccup trigger? Talking like that? Most of the hiccups that I've had as a small child came from laughing too hard. Like, if me and my grandpa were doing something silly together and I would laugh a lot, I would sometimes get the hiccups then. But we don't know what's caused Kipper's hiccups to begin with. I wonder if it's because Kipper started sipping his drink less than a second after he was humming. Did he start inhaling his drink, like sucking it in during the last note of his hum? Is that what did it? It could be. He definitely didn't. He wasn't laughing. I'm pretty sure there's other causes for hiccups besides laughing too hard. I don't know what they are, but I'm sure there's other ways. And that's when Jake says, I think you've got hiccups, Kipper. Kipper says, I know. I've had them all day. I can't get rid of them. And Jake says, well, I can always give you a bear hug. That always... what does he say here? I listened to this a couple of times. I'm not 100% sure. For years, I thought he said that always ships them. Like it ships the hiccups away. Like gets rid of them. But the way he moves his fingers as he says that, my second guess was maybe he said that always shakes them, like shakes them out. But listening to it a third time today, and also looking at the closed captions on YouTube, I think he's saying that always shifts them. Like shifting, because the shift means to, change place. And so Jake grabs Kipper and picks him up, like he's got his arms around his chest and lifts him up into the air. Like, wow, that's a really big bear hug. You're really strong, Jake. My grandpa on my dad's side of the family, he was known for his grizzly bear hugs. He didn't pick me up like that, though. He would always, put his arms around me and shake me as he hugged. That was his grizzly bear hug. But here, Jake is lifting Kipper up into the air. My goodness. I'm not sure Kipper's enjoying that much, though. He's like, no! I guess Jake's holding really tight. And Kipper says, Jake, I think you've done it. And, oh, man. Jake just completely lets go and lets Kipper fall to the ground. Youch. I mean, first, Kipper falls on his butt, and then he flops back down onto his belly. Like, kind of bounces down twice. And as annoyed as Kipper is about this, he's somewhat grateful for a second because he thinks the hiccups are gone once again. And much to his misery, they come back. Like, oh, I don't think they'll ever go. And Jake says, but a bear hug always works. To which Kipper replies, maybe it's because you're not a bear. Maybe it's because you're not a bear. Jake said the bear hug works for him, but Kipper thinks a bear hug doesn't work for him because Jake is not a bear. That makes me wonder, does Jake know a bear somewhere? I wasn't aware of there being any bears in Kipper's universe. Although Tiger briefly mentions bears in the episode Tiger's Torch, but we never see any bears on this show. This is interesting. Kipper's saying that a bear hug doesn't work because Jake is not a bear, and yet right before that Jake said, but a bear hug always works. So does that mean that Jake actually got hugged by a bear at one point? Or maybe Kipper just assumes that Jake thinks the bear hug would work because he'd been hugged by a bear once, and now he wants to try it on Kipper. Either way, Kipper thinks the bear hug thing was just a dumb idea, and Kipper just walks away, hiccuping. And then Jake just kind of stands there. I don't know what's on his mind. He just kind of looks at his paws, and he's just standing there. Ooh, I wonder if he's just thinking, oh, poor Kipper, I wish there was a way we can get rid of his hiccups. I wonder if the big surprise at the end is originally his idea, and now he's going to invite everybody else to help out with it. I won't say what it is just yet, but keep that in mind. Jake might be plotting something. Okay, so now Kipper's back home, and man, he's getting desperate. He's actually trying Pig's suggestion now. He's trying to stand on one foot and plug his ears. Actually, it's more like hopping on one foot, because every hiccup makes him jump. Finally he says, silly old pig, this'll never work. And he says, I wonder if Tiger knows a cure. Then we cut to Tiger's house, and yeah, see, there's the front view of his telephone. And wow, the ring actually doesn't just wiggle the receiver, it's actually lifts it up in the air, like goes up, and then when it stops ringing, it just goes back down. Lands neatly into place, and then it does it again. And Tiger's phone is blue. Kipper's got the red one, Pig's got the yellow one, and Tiger's got the blue one. I don't think anybody calls Jake on this show, though, so I guess they only need 3 colors. And Tiger picks up the phone, answers it, says, "Hello, Kipper." And we don't hear Kipper talking, but apparently Kipper's telling Tiger about all the failed attempts to get rid of his hiccups. And Tiger says, "Have you tried holding your breath and counting to 100? And Kipper did try that, and of course it didn't work. And Tiger says, "What about standing on your head and singing a song?" I wonder if Tiger's read that same book. And also, I forgot to mention one important thing. On one of my old home movies, there's a clip of me in the backyard when I was 3 years old, and I'm running around the tree, and then I fall down to the grass, and my dad behind the camera says, "Kerplop." And then I don't exactly stand on my head, but I just kind of lay there in the grass looking up into the tree with my legs up in the air, and then I start singing Kipper's hiccup song. "I don't want to have the hiccups, hiccups, you must go, I don't want to have the..." So I guess, like, being on the ground and having my head on the ground, and then sticking my legs up in the air, at the age of 3, that was pretty much my definition of standing on my head and singing a song. I didn't really have hiccups at that moment, just being in that position made me think of that. Maybe I'll plug that into the computer and play some audio from that for you at the very end when we're done. I might even post a video on YouTube, we'll see. Like, it's very short, it's just under a minute. And apparently Kipper's telling Tiger about Pig's suggestion, put a finger in each ear and stand on one leg. Tiger says, "Pig said you should do what?" And Tiger says, "Well, I wouldn't listen to Pig, everything he says is silly." When I was a little kid, for years I thought Tiger said, "What I want isn't a pig," but he actually said, "Well, I wouldn't listen to Pig. Everything he says is silly." So I guess Pig has had a reputation of saying things that Kipper and Tiger thought sounded kind of odd. I don't think we've heard much of that, though, besides this. Pig's usually pretty honest, sometimes a little too honest, to the point where he uses not so nice language. And finally, Tiger has an idea. He says, "Kipper, have you tried drinking a glass of water from the wrong side?" "No?" "Well, that should do the trick." And then he hangs up, and we fade to black once again. And then the next scene, which kind of leads into the final scene then, we see Kipper standing at the table. He's kind of crouched down looking at this glass of water on the table. He looks at it and he's thinking, which is the wrong side? And he's looking at the glass all over. Like, Kipper doesn't have a clue what Tiger is saying, because a glass is round. It doesn't really have an end, so what do you consider the front or the back or the side, let alone the wrong side? So Kipper picks up the glass of water and starts to drink some, but then he hiccuped. Why do I have such a hard time saying hiccups? He hiccuped. Hiccup does have 2 C's, by the way. He hiccuped again, and as he did, the water in the glass splashed a little bit. He says, "No, that can't be right." And then he tries to, he holds the glass to his mouth, and then he kind of tilts to one side, our left, his right, his left, our right, and tries to drink from a sideways angle, dripping out a little bit of water onto the floor in the process. But that didn't help at all. He looks at the glass again and says, "What does Tiger mean?" And then finally, Kipper brings the glass to his mouth. How the heck do I describe this? And then he kind of leans forward, sort of tucking the glass into his neck, like his chin is sort of dipping into the glass, and his lips are on the opposite side of where you'd usually put them. So that instead of tilting back to pour the water into his mouth, he tilts forward so that the water goes the other way, and he tries to slurp it up like that, and he loses some more water in the process, but he must have sipped some, like a little bit. My goodness, Kipper, you've got a lot of cleaning up to do. First you were dripping on the floor coming in from the pool, and now you're doing this? Better get your mop after the show ends. Although the drips from when he came in from the pool are probably dry by now. And that's when Kipper finally taps the glass with his finger and says, "So that's the wrong side. Well done, Tiger." And he lets out a happy sigh, thinking that his hiccups are gone. And can you guess what happens next? Yepper, Kipper, hiccups again, this time dropping his entire glass on the floor. Yeah, you definitely are gonna have to clean that up. That's a big mess. He says, "Here, oh no, please, here, go away. I've tried every thing." And then the doorbell rings. He very sadly walks over to the door, covering his mouth, trying to hold his hiccups in. And then, just as Kipper opens the door, we hear, I think it's Tiger saying, 1, 2, 3. And then this happens.
1, 2, 3. Quiet, everyone!
And there's Tiger, Pig, Arnold, and Jake. The whole gang is there. And they just kind of step into Kipper's doorway. Tiger's got a horn. Pig's got that, what is that thing called? I've seen it on the Koala Brothers too. It's some kind of thing with like a stick with this little box on the end, and you kind of swirl it around. What is that called? Let me look it up. Okay, there's something called a wooden ratchet noisemaker. Is that what that is? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. A wood ratchet noisemaker. Sometimes they're also referred to as clackers. But yeah, whatever it is, Pig's got one of those, Tiger's got a horn, and Jake is playing a massive drum, and Arnold's just holding a balloon. And they're all making noise to try to scare Kipper's hiccups away. And they just start playing as soon as Kipper opens his door, and Kipper just kind of collapses down to the floor because it really surprises him. And then as they're playing, Arnold's balloon pops, so I guess it makes a little bit of noise. I don't know if he meant to do that or if it just happened on its own with static or something. Yeah, he just touched it and then it burst. But yeah, that moment right there, where they're coming into the door and then Kipper falls down, that's a very iconic shot right there. Because the day that I turned 3, my 3rd birthday, I sat down at the kitchen table to eat some Teddy Grahams and goldfish and a cupcake, and they set up these little birthday cards for me. One of them was a train with a face on it. I think one of them probably came from Grandma or someplace. And I'm pretty sure my dad must have made this. I think he had a computer by then. What was that? September 2000 I turned 3. Yeah, my dad must have just gotten his computer by that time. He didn't let me play on it yet until like about a year or so later. But on nickjr.com, they had a bunch of like still images of certain shows that you could print out. And this picture here was one of them. And so Dad selected that. He made this print file with this picture on it. And right underneath the picture, he typed on, "Happy birthday, Joshua." And then he printed it out and folded it and set it on the table there with all the other birthday cards. That was really cool. So I guess he used this picture as like, I don't know, comparable to like a surprise for like a birthday party or something. Even though my birthday wasn't really a surprise party, we never did that sort of thing. But it looked like they were all playing music and making noise, like a celebration, to celebrate that I was turning 3, even though that wasn't really the context of what's going on in the show. Because here what they're trying to do is they're trying to make a lot of noise to scare away Kipper's hiccups. But Kipper doesn't understand that yet. He says, well, after Tiger finally quiets him down, Kipper says, "What was all the noise for? You really gave me a fright." And then Tiger laughs and says, "Sorry, Kipper, but it had to be done." And Kipper doesn't think it's very funny. I think they made a little mistake here. I hear somebody saying, "How's the hiccups going, Kipper?" That sounds a little bit more like Pig's voice than Tiger's voice, but we see Tiger's mouth moving. It's the same actor. Chris Line does the voices for all of Kipper's friends. Tiger, Pig, Arnold, and Jake. It's all played by the same guy. So I don't know, maybe the animators must have read that wrong or something. I mean, it's a pretty understandable mistake because Tiger and Pig's voices sound very similar, especially in the earlier seasons. They're a little bit easier to differentiate later on in the second half of the series. So somebody says, "How's the hiccups going, Kipper?" And Kipper thinks he's still struggling with them, and then suddenly he realizes, wait a minute, they're gone! And Tiger says, "I said it would work, didn't I?" And he continues laughing. So apparently, I don't know whose idea this was. They were all in on it. Who came up with the idea first, I wonder? Maybe it was Jake. He's got that great big drum that he's banging on. My other theory was maybe Tiger told Kipper to try the thing with drinking the glass of water from the wrong side to keep him busy, while Tiger and the other guys come up with this elaborate scheme to scare the Hiccups away. Maybe that's what it is. Then they start making noise again. They come into the house. And looking again at Pig's noisemaker, it kind of looks like a flag, but hard, solid, like it's not soft fabric. Like it's a stick with that square sticking out on top. And it's also brown, which when I was little kind of reminded me of the chocolate cake they were eating in the tag sale episode. And as we hear the final notes of music, everybody's inside, but Arnold's still standing at the doorway. He's got a smile on his face, he's sucking his thumb. He's not too sad about his broken balloon, but there is one wee little problem for a wee little piglet. Arnold says, "Hey," and then Kipper starts laughing. Oh, poor Arnold, now he's got the hiccups too. I mean, at least I think he does. Or maybe Arnold's just being silly and pretending to hiccup because there's been all this talk about hiccups today. And then Kipper's just laughing along with him. Well, Arnold probably doesn't have to worry because he's got his big cousin and his friends to make plenty of noise if he needs it. So hopefully Arnold will be okay. Yeah, when I was little, I never really figured out any foolproof way to get rid of hiccups. The only thing that ever got rid of my hiccups when I was a toddler was time. They just kind of riot out and, eventually they go away. And as Kipper laughs, he just takes Arnold's hand and walks him inside to join the others and leaves the door open. Every time I looked at that doormat that Kipper has, that light brown one, I'm not sure what it's made of. I don't know if it's some kind of like shaggy rug kind of fabric or if it's some sort of little wooden twigs that you wipe your feet on. Like I've seen rugs like that have like these bristly things. But when I was little, I always thought that looked like a great big salad crouton or maybe a big piece of cereal like, I don't know, Wheaties or shredded spoonfuls or something. And that's it. That was Kipper the dog. Hiccups. Definitely one of the most memorable episodes of the series.